The first thing I noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, the unnatural kind that presses against your ears and makes you aware of your own breathing. The spaceport of Varelia Prime was usually alive with motion and sound. Anti-grav haulers humming, translators chirping, alien merchants arguing in 3 or 4 frequencies at once. But when I stepped off the transport shuttle, the noise seemed to dull, as if the world itself had inhaled. I felt it before I understood it. Heads turned, eyes, compound, luminous, faceted, or disturbingly human, followed me as I crossed the docking platform. Some alien stiffened. Others leaned back, mandibles twitching, crests flattening, pupils dilating. I was used to being stared at. Humans were still something of a novelty in the outer spiral. But this was different. This wasn't curiosity. This was recognition, which made no sense at all. I was Elias Rowe. Human. Civilian contractor. No military record beyond mandatory training. No genetic modifications. No neural implants. I fixed translation matrices and data relays for a living. I'd never been to Varelia Prime before, never interacted with its ruling species, the Lyrathi. And yet, they were looking at me like they'd seen a ghost. I reached the customs gate, where a tall Lyrathi official stood waiting. She was willowy, her skin a soft shade of iridescent blue, eyes like pools of liquid silver. Bioluminescent patterns rippled faintly along her neck, a sign of emotional regulation, according to my cultural brief. Her patterns flickered. She stared at me, not at my credentials, not at my datapad, at my eyes. Her breath caught. "It's you," she whispered in perfect galactic standard. The words were barely audible, but I heard them. My heart skipped. "I'm sorry?" I said. "Do I?" She recoiled as if stung. Bioluminescence flaring bright, then dimming rapidly. She straightened, composure snapping back into place like armor. "State your purpose," she said, voice suddenly formal. I blinked. Elias Rowe, Human Systems Engineer. Here to service the Deep Archive Relay. Work Order 7A. She scanned my ID with trembling fingers. Her gaze flicked back to my face again and again, like she couldn't help herself. "Proceed," she said sharply, handing back the datapad. "You will be escorted." As I walked past, I glanced back. She was still watching me. The Deep Archive was older than most civilizations. A planet-spanning structure buried beneath Varelia Prime's crystalline crust, housing records that predated interstellar travel, records the Lyrathi treated less like history and more like scripture. I didn't understand why they needed a human to service it, but the pay was generous and the contract ironclad. They assigned me a guide, a Lyrathi woman named Salith. She walked beside me through corridors that glowed with embedded starlight, her movements fluid and precise. She hadn't spoken since we left the customs hall. "So," I said eventually, unable to stand the silence, "is it always this intense when outsiders visit?" She stopped. Slowly, she turned to face me. Her eyes locked onto mine. Again, that look. Recognition. Fear. Wonder. "You do not remember," she said softly. "Remember what?" Her bioluminescence pulsed once, sharply. "Of course you do not." We resumed walking. "What do you mean?" I pressed. "You're acting like you know me." She didn't answer immediately. When she did, her voice was careful. "Among my people, there is a belief. A legend." I raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess. A prophecy?" "Yes," she said, "but not one of heroes or conquerors. One of witnesses." We descended into the archive's core chamber, a vast sphere of floating crystalline data spires orbiting a central nexus. Salith gestured for me to begin my inspection. As I connected my tools, she spoke again. Long ago, she said, before our empire, before our science, there was a moment when the Lyrathai stood at the edge of extinction. A war we could not win. A future we could not survive. I glanced at her, and someone showed us another path. The diagnostic screen flickered. Data streams surged, old, unstable, barely compatible with modern systems. Who? I asked. She hesitated. A human. I laughed. That's not possible. Humans barely left Earth 1,000 years ago. Salith's gaze never left my face. You speak as if time is a straight line. A chill crept up my spine. The archive suddenly reacted to my presence. The floating spires shifted, rotating faster. Light patterns reorganized themselves, responding to my neural signature. What did you just do? Salith whispered. I didn't do anything, I said, fingers flying across controls. The system's reacting to me, like it recognizes my biometric profile. The central nexus ignited. Images flooded the air, holographic projections of ancient stars, alien worlds, and something else. A human figure. Older. Scarred. Wearing technology centuries beyond anything I recognized. He stood among Lyrathai elders, speaking calmly as chaos raged around them. My breath caught. He looks like me, I whispered. Salith dropped to one knee. The witness, she breathed. The one who remembered when we could not. My heart pounded. That's not me. But he had your eyes, she said. Your neural pattern. Your genetic resonance. The hologram shifted. The human figure extended a hand, not in command, but in understanding. The Lyrathai elders mirrored the gesture. The war ended not with victory, but with withdrawal. The human showed them something: records, warnings, futures. Knowledge of cycles, of collapse. He didn't save them by fighting. He saved them by remembering. The vision faded. Silence returned. I felt dizzy. This is impossible. I've never been here. I don't know any of this. Salith rose slowly. And yet, the archive awakened for you. Not for our queens. Not for our scholars. Why me? I asked. She studied me for a long moment. Because humanity remembers, she said. You forget your names, your faces, your lifetimes, but not your essence. Your species carries memory forward in ways we cannot measure. I swallowed. So, what are you saying? That I'm a reincarnation? A clone? No, she said gently. You are you. She placed a hand over her chest. But the pattern echoes. Across time. Across probability. Alarms suddenly flared. The archive destabilized. Ancient safeguards began to fail. Salith's calm shattered. The council will sense this. They will come. Is that bad? I asked. She met my eyes again. They fear what remembers them better than they remember themselves. The council arrived in a storm of authority, robed figures, towering guards, energy fields humming. They demanded answers. Before Salith could speak, I stepped forward. I don't know who you think I am, I said, voice steady despite my racing heart. But I know the system is collapsing. If we don't stabilize it, you'll lose everything. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. One of the elders stared at me, eyes wide. He speaks as the witness once did. I clench my fists. I speak as a human engineer. Let me help. They hesitated. Then slowly they allowed it. As I worked, something strange happened. My hands moved with certainty. Solutions came intuitively. I understood systems that should have been incomprehensible. Not because I remembered, but because my species had learned how to adapt. The archive stabilized. The alarms ceased. The elders watched me in silence.